they told us about on what you guys were doing. They asked me would I be interested in participating, in terms of donating Jory's placenta when I delivered. And I'm like, if it's something that I'm not going to need that can help science, sure. And I think about the fact, what if I said no? Or the fact that it's something that we throw away on a regular basis that could save, potentially save not just my child's lives, but other children's lives.
Hi, this is Dr. Bob Murray from Piloting Health, and today I'm going to take a little trip down memory lane to talk about one of the cases that we've had the privilege of being involved in over the last several years, deploying our breakthroughs in cellular therapy to treat a young man who I have a very personal affection and connection to because his family was one of the first recipients of cell therapy derived from the placenta. And it's a story that is near and dear to my heart because not only was it successful, but it was a courageous effort to advance the whole field around using cellular medicine to treat some of the worst diseases that afflict all of us in our lifetime. So this is a story about Quentin Murray. When I first met him, Quentin was a little baby who was facing a really horrible diagnosis, the diagnosis of leukemia. And his mother, Mary Webb, an incredible woman who just would not take no for an answer from the clinicians and the doctors that were taking care of her son, and took advantage of this unique opportunity to collect the stem cells from her soon-to-be-born daughter, Jory, and use those cells to treat Quentin's leukemia. And at our company, the predecessor to Cellularity, we had pioneered a technique to collect not just the hematopoietic stem cells from cord blood and use those in traditional bone marrow transplantation, but to also collect the cells from the placenta and use those to augment the anti-tumor effect and the bone marrow reconstituting effect, remodeling effect of the cells we would get in a conventional cord blood unit. And Quentin was being treated for his leukemia, and we created this transplant to help restore his function of his bone marrow, replace the bone marrow cells with new healthy cells from his sister, and then augment the anti-tumor effect with the immune system that his sister's native immune system introduced into his bone marrow. And thrilled to tell you that 17 years later, Quentin is now a college student living his life to the fullest after a diagnosis that many of us know usually has a very poor outcome. And so this episode will talk about the journey that they took, the journey they took with us at Cellularity, and how they are now part of the Cellularity family going forward as a successful outcome of what I think was a really pioneering first treatment. And today it opens the doors to using these cells to treat a whole range of cancers and other serious diseases going forward. Well, listen, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us. So we've created this kind of unique podcast centered around all the stuff we've been doing here at LifeBank, at Cellularity, and you guys are one of our most important families we've had the privilege of being connected to. And so I want to talk a little bit about the whole experience you guys went through because our whole mission is to make this available to everybody. And you guys are like the Mercury astronauts. You were like the first to do this and to use it. Quentin's like Alan Shepard, one of my all-time heroes, first guy in space for the United States. So first of all, listen, thank you for joining us, and it's great to see you. And I always think about you guys. And so what we want to do today is talk a little bit about the whole journey we went through together. And first, let me introduce us by saying that, Mary, you're one of those remarkable women and moms who
Yes, yes, she
did not
is.
take the convention. Is amazing, amazing. And by the way, you guys mean everything to me, because I remember when we first connected, because you were facing what every mom's biggest dread is. You have a beautiful child and you're facing this disease that everybody tells you can't deal with, and you didn't take no for an answer. And for me, that was, first of all, I fell in love with the courage you had, but also we became partners in finding a solution, so that now we got Quentin right there looking phenomenal all these years later. In your own words, would you share with the audience how this all began? What was the starting point, and how did we all get connected?
Okay, well, before I begin, let me just say that Quentin turned 21 last month. It is definitely a milestone I did not think he'd make it to had it not been for what you guys did. So that's the first thing. Um, but the beginning is when he's 4. We moved back to the Louisiana area, and we didn't have our furniture yet, so Quentin was sleeping in his sleeper bag. And one night he got like a very golf ball sized swollen eye, and he wasn't complaining about it, but obviously it was a situation for me. I thought maybe he had, was allergic to something in the carpet, maybe been bitten by something, but he didn't say it didn't bother him. So that was the first thing. Throughout that summer, the eye kept coming up, going down, coming up, coming down. And he didn't, one thing I will say, he didn't know what eye it was. He would always ask for a towel, but then he'd say, well, what eye to put it on? But what was more significant was he started to have these unexplained bruises. I remember it started the weekend of Memorial Day. I taken him to see Shrek that Friday when it was time for him to get up that Saturday morning. He was talking about how he didn't want to get out of bed because his wrist was hurting. And I looked at his wrists. I didn't see anything. He hadn't fallen or anything. That Monday, I took him to the doctor complaining about it, and they pretty much said nothing was wrong. That it was all in my head. I was hormonal because I was pregnant. But through the course of that next week, it kept um, just moving up. At first, like I said, it was his wrist, then it was the middle of his arm, then it was like his elbow. And I brought up the eye because, like I said, he wouldn't know what eye. At the end of that week, Quinn was doing everything with one arm. He was eating with one hand. He was catching if we went outside to play with this one hand. He knew like what arm was hurting as opposed to the eye. And I tried to make him use the other hand, but he said, no, this one hurts. And I was like, yeah, but you don't know what eye hurts. But he's, very adamant about that. And by the end of the week, he had a very huge bruise on his elbow. Took him back to the doctor. And I don't think I saw the same doctor I'd seen before, but I told him I had been there the week before and he was complaining about his wrist, but that the pain had moved up his arm little by little. And by now, like I said, he had the bruise, but they asked me if he had fallen or anything. And I was like, I wasn't working at the time because it was summer. And I was like, no, he's been under my constant supervision, nothing. As the summer went on, he started complaining about other aches and pains in various areas of his body. And I started thinking leukemia only because I was like, I felt like it had to be something where fluid was moving in his body because I mean, like, I was like, other than water, what else could it be? And so I was like, it had to be blood because one day I'm putting lotion on him and I'm touching him so gingerly and he's like, like, I'm really like applying a lot of pressure. And so he said that it was hurting him. I'm like, I'm barely touching you. Again, went to the doctor, but it would seem like every time we would go to the doctor, he was either in good spirits or there wasn't something associated with the pain, like a bruise or something. And so, like I said, it just kept being like, you're hormonal, nothing's wrong. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that something is. I hope nothing is. The summer ended with us getting a diagnosis on July 12th. after visiting Dallas and my friend, one of my best friends, seeing him and just be like he was so normal. By the time we left, his eye had swollen again. Um, I think that was a Monday we left. That Tuesday he didn't go to camp. I showed her the pictures. By that Thursday, Wednesday, I'd taken him back to the doctor. He's talked about how he didn't want to go to camp. He didn't want to be in my brother's wedding at the end of the week. The two biggest things that he had looked forward to all summer. And like yourself, there's another doctor who is so integral to this journey. It was the pediatrician that I was seeing at the time. She was the first pediatrician I saw in that clinic who I felt like really gave some pause to what we were saying. But I remember after her examining him, and this was one time he really did feel poorly, she took off her doctor's jacket and she picks Quentin up. She didn't get a nurse or anybody else, but she carried him to the car for me. She said, I believe him when he said his legs hurt, and I was clearly too far along pregnant to carry him myself. She said she would call the next day and give me a word as to what was going on. She called that night and she said that she had prepared the bed for us at Children's to get there as soon as we could. She said something about his platelet count being like 5. I didn't understand the significance at the time. I just knew that that was a slight, a significantly lower number than it had been all through the summer. But she basically said if he were to get a nick of a cut, he would bleed out. I asked her if it was leukemia, and she said she wouldn't say. She would just let the doctors think when we got there. And by the end of
I
the night, by
remember.
the end of the night,
Yeah, I remember you did not just accept what was being told to you to kind of calm you down. You wanted to get deeper into this and figure out what the problem was. But you knew Quentin, and you knew that something wasn't right. And I commend you on that, Mary, because listen, these are slow to sometimes pick up diagnoses, but the fact that you persisted is the reason that you got Quentin treated so early. So, did the doctors talk to you when they first made the diagnosis? Did
mhm.
they talk to you about the options available to you? Like what were they saying at the time?
So, um, that's the thing, having, no answer leading up to this. No, there was not anything that I was presented with as an until I got to Children's. The very next day that Friday, one of the social workers approached us and they told us about on what you guys were doing. They asked me would I be interested in participating, in terms of donating Jory's placenta when I delivered. And, they told me I probably wouldn't need it. And I'm like, if it's something that I'm not going to need that can help science, sure. And I think about the fact, what if I said no? Or the fact that it's something that we throw away on a regular basis, um, that could save, potentially save not just my child's lives, but other children's lives.
So your own altruism, right? Your willingness to do something to advance science wound up coming around full circle to help the whole family. So let's put this in
Exactly.
context. So they told you that Quentin had leukemia, right? And we knew that the pathway forward was to get him either the conventional treatment, or because of your generosity and your willingness to help science, you said, well, we're going to also donate the placenta so that the placenta could be processed and potentially be usable for somebody else. We didn't know back then we could actually use it for Quentin too. So let me put this all sort of on the table. At the time, the ability to treat leukemias with cord blood stem cell transplantation was an available option, but we also knew that there was a potential to use the cells from the placenta, a new technology we were developing at the time at LifeBank USA and now Cellularity could actually make the treatment even more effective. And because of your generosity and your willingness to help contribute to the advances in the field, we had that tool available. So for the audience, it turned out that fortunately you were getting ready to give birth to Jury, and Jury happened to be a match for Quentin. we could augment the cord blood stem cells with the stem cells from the placenta, and maybe they would even do a better job than cord blood stem cells alone. So that's the basis for how we got where we are today. So tell me about, like, what was going through your mind at the time, because leukemia is a tough enough diagnosis, but how did you feel the new technology might add to all of this and improve the potential for curing Quentin?
Well, it just seemed like a no-brainer because the cord blood is so limited and the amount of stem cells that it carries. And I'm like, if stem cells are also in placenta and it's a more vast amount, I can't see why it would work in one thing but not work in the other. But I'm certainly willing to, see if it does or not. And you're so right about it becoming full circle for us. I had no dream of this ever being something we would need because the doctors have said it was very rare that boy and girls matched, um, and just matches period in the family. They told us that for us to already have a sibling on the way and it be a match to the degree that it was a match period, but to the degree that it was like the equivalent of winning the lottery. And I can't think of a better analogy for um, what we did. And I mean, like it was also a no-brainer, like I said, even if it wasn't going to benefit me, I knew that whatever had been done for leukemia up until that point had been because of other people who had done something before us. So why not, just pay it forward by keeping it going? And but like I said, I'm so blessed and so happy that it worked out, that it was something that we could use for ourselves.
So that's the beauty of all this. So it turns out that your newborn daughter, Jory, happened to be a hero in all this, because in addition to the cord blood we were able to collect, the placental cells we were able to collect as well actually combined together to create a therapy that when Quentin got it, and I remember the pictures. I remember the pictures of Jury, sort of, little baby Jury sitting there, able to donate life saving and life altering cells that, when infused into Quentin, not only restored the function of his bone marrow, but actually enhanced the anti-tumor effect that these immune cells could actually provide. And look where we are today. We're how far are we? 15 years out.
17 years out.
17 years out.
16,
17
I
years
just
out.
going on 17, but yes.
And what was the procedure like? I remember that the collection of the placenta was easy. How about the treatment itself?
All of it was easy. I remember you guys sending somebody down, making sure I had my kit with me. I'm like, if I bring nothing else to the hospital other than myself, it will be this kit. And her standing over the doctor and saying, get all of it, get all of it, get all of it. But in terms of the process for Quentin, it was almost anticlimactic. I really thought it would be like so much more. It was just this I always call it, it looked like pink lemonade in the syringe that he just had pushed into his, that doctor you pushed into his port or whatever he was connected to at the time. And then it was kind of like, okay, I guess we grab lunch. And the other thing I want to point out, it was no harm to Jory because I know there was a lot of people who were worried that, oh, did I just have a baby? I was like, she was already on the way, and then there's nothing that's going to happen to her. They're not going to drill in her bones or anything. This is something that was going to come out and be thrown away. So no harm was done to her. It was just help given to Quentin.
It's wonderfully elegantly simple, right? I mean, what is a waste product of a normal healthy birth of your daughter, with, like you said, no risk to her, no pain to her, the out of the byproduct of that beautiful pregnancy and healthy birth, we took the cells and we turned them into a therapeutic that has allowed Quentin to grow up and be the amazing young man that he is. So so look, one of the things, obviously, we've been partners in this for now 17 years, where we know that this is a incredibly valuable therapeutic. as you know, Life Bank and the company that originally worked with you has now evolved into Cellularity, a global cellular medicine company. What we want to do is we want to leverage the success you guys have had and make it available to everybody because as we both agree, this is in my mind kind of a no-brainer. You use the term no-brainer. I think you're absolutely right. And so now at this important pivot point in everybody's lives, you got a young man there who's got a great future ahead of him. How's Jury doing, by the way?
Jory turned 16 in December. We had a beautiful Sweet
My
16 party
goodness.
for her, Halloween, Hollywood themed. She performed so gracefully at her dance recital 2 nights ago, Thursday and Friday night. She's a sophomore in high school. She is working towards a dance certification as well as a medical certification. This is just in high school. Many
Wow.
credits will transfer over. She'll be able to attend Tulane for part of her senior year, but I'm sure she will go away to school after that. So I have two beautiful, two vibrant, two I don't know all the adjectives I can use to describe the kids that I was blessed with. Um,
Well, you've got two beautiful children. They have an amazing mom, and I can attest to that because you never gave up. You fought all the way. We made this a historical treatment that sets the stage for many treatments going forward in the future. So I got to ask Quentin. So Quentin, at 21, tell me what you're looking forward to.
Well, over the summer, I'm gonna be working at the lighthouse for the blind and disability.
Phenomenal. So you're giving back.
Finished his first year of college, or will be finishing tomorrow's his last exam. He's planning on finishing some more courses at Delgado, which is our community college, and then going on to Nichols and Thibodeau to uh, go after a degree in video game design.
Fantastic. So listen, Quentin, so considering everything, you still are giving back to your community. And by the way, the Lighthouse is an amazing organization. And I think that there are going to be therapies coming out of cellular medicine to treat blindness as well. Well, look, first of all, I want to thank you both for joining us. This was, for me, it was a nice walk down memory lane. You guys, we want you to come back and visit us here in New Jersey on your next trip up north. And what do you think about your experience in general? Do you think that this taught you something? And what would you tell other families who are getting ready to have a child? Would you recommend that they bank their cells and bank their placenta?
I definitely would. Shortly after we did the transplant, ironically, I got an offer for cancer insurance in the mail, and I'm like, what makes more sense? Cancer insurance after the fact, or preventative measures like banking your blood? I wish that had been something that I had been that I didn't meet through this channel. I wish it was something I had known to do beforehand. I'm thankful one way or another that it came to this. Um, so yes, definitely to bank. And I guess the other thing that I really feel like this taught me, I always say that cancer was a blessing. People think that's strange. I'm like, well, let me just say, I'm thankful that it wound up the way it did, but it really did. I think get me off the sidelines of life and into the game. It's made, I feel like Quentin has had several shots at life. Um, and yeah, it's really taught me how to live.
And listen, your story is an inspiration to a lot of people. And the fact that you never gave up, that you paid enough attention to what's happening in science means a tremendous amount to all of us. And you guys are, like I said, you're pioneers in using these life giving cells to treat serious diseases. But we think that there's a lot more beyond this. So, anything you want to share with me before we break?
Well, I hope you guys will just keep us abreast of everything great that you're doing. And it was on my time hop that we were together in Rome 6 years ago at this time.
That's right. That's right. And I remember that great visit we had where you guys were awarded at the Vatican, and it's a testimonial to just your courage and your commitment to seeing this all the way through. And fortunately, you got a remarkable family to come out of this. So, looking forward to seeing you guys soon. And thanks for joining me. And again, this is Dr. Bob Hariri at Piloting Health, and I can't wait till Quentin shares with us his next adventure in life going forward.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you.
Thank
Take care, guys.
Same here.